Hello, everybody. Welcome to this 20. Today is Monday, January 26th edition of the Real Sports Scope. It is a little bit later than I normally do this show. It's 8:13 a.m. Uh, like many people around the country, I don't know, half the country, maybe a fourth of the country or snowed in, iced in. I'm here at the Nashville, Tennessee area, and I'm doing the program here. Very icy today. I'm sitting here. My apartment's pretty close to Interstate 40. It goes across the country. And I'll tell you what was really interesting about this is normally at this time in the 7 o'clock hour, Interstate 40, that goes from East Coast to West Coast, is total gridlock at that hour coming into town, coming into the Nashville area. And I tell you, folks, it looks exactly like it did on Sunday, just a car every now and then. That tells you how icy it really is here. I hope everybody's staying safe in this cold, blistery day. I think it's the coldest day here probably in the last few years, single digits here in this area. So hope everybody's okay. Get a little stir crazy myself. But, hey, listen, I'm going to get a lot of work done, including doing this program. Maybe knock out some taxes and maybe record another interview if I can today, if I can get one of the guys locked in. So anyways, great games this weekend. Actually watched a little bit of the college basketball on Saturday, which a lot of the games, because of the storm was so bad, were moved up in time at 10 o'clock Central Time, watching games. And I'll tell you what, Texas Tech and Houston. I know Houston was in a national championship game last year. 2 games separated by 4 points. That was pretty interesting. I tell you what, not going to get into the college basketball scene today, but I tell you, going forward, I'm going to invest more time into the college basketball game. I thought they were really good over the weekend. Okay, but the big story was the NFL Conference Championship games here. Starting backwards a little bit here, I thought the bigger game, obviously, was the more interesting game, was this Rams-Seahawks well-crafted. I made some notes here. Well-crafted, well-coached game on both sides. However, I did notice, folks, the refs really let a lot of holding, arm barring, the rule technically of wide receivers, so cornerbacks, particularly at Seattle with those Ram receivers, and vice versa. I mean, just grabbing a guy. The rule is 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. You can do that. We're talking holding the guys all the way downfield. I'm quarterback. I don't know, Devin Witherspoon, for example, on a Devontae Adams, and we're both running for the ball. You can't sit there and hold me back. Just play the ball. He's sitting there underarm Adams. And Puka, poor Puka, just mauled, absolutely mauled, like playing. Refs just letting them just kill each other out there, right up under Puka. I understand you don't want the refs stopping the game. I don't want the refs stopping the game on every single play. But I'd say, hey, listen, guys, you can't do that. You play the ball. You cannot play the receivers. And putting your hands on the receiver is playing the receiver instead of the ball. You're supposed to play the ball, for position like that. So I didn't like that. I thought it was a lot of it. I thought it was very excessive. It was very Bush League, if you ask me. That being said, it was a pretty clean game for the most part, other than that muff punt by the Rams in the third quarter that ultimately cost them the game because, mind you, Sam Darnold, 17-yard touchdown pass right after that, and it was a 4-point game here. But, in the outcome itself, I was thinking to myself, and I made some notes here. This time last year with Geno Smith as a quarterback, I was thinking, Coach Mike Macdonald's just another younger version of Pete Carroll here. Why should you let Pete Carroll go if this is the same thing you get? Remember, they went 10-6 last year with Geno Smith, and I thought, well, he's another defensive guy. He's just a younger version of Carroll. It's the same of what you already had. Well, they moved off of Geno Smith, brought in Sam Darnold. Still wasn't really in love. I thought maybe he'd get them another game or two, but they would probably fold in the first round of the playoffs as maybe a wild card. I didn't think that they would beat, but they did though. But they did. They did beat 2 out of 3 times. They did beat the Rams, and they held off San Francisco as well and got that 1 seed, But, I tell you what, it worked out. It worked out. Bringing in Sam Darnold, bringing in Mike Macdonald and John Schneider here. I looked at that. They showed it last night on the telecast there. 6 Pro Bowlers. 6 Pro Bowlers on this Seattle team. They really took advantage of that Russell Wilson trade and got a lot of young, talented defensive players there. Your Witherspoons of the world, Walker of the world of running back there. And, of course, Jackson Smith, Najigma, all guys on rookie contracts here. All guys on rookie contracts there and rebuilding that team there. And then you throw in a guy on a modest contract there, a Sam Darnold player friend. I looked at his number, $13 million cap hit this year for Sam. Now, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. But that is really, really team-friendly there. It just goes to show you. And listen, this is the first defensive-minded head coach here, defensive background, defensive-minded head coach to be in the Super Bowl, him and Vrabel both, and I'll talk about Vrabel in a minute, since 2019, folks. The first 2 since 2019. Now, you got 2 this year, but, 2019 all the way up there, we're talking 6 years here. We're not 1, but both coaches were from an offensive background, But, hey, listen, very good coordinator there in Kubiak there, the son of Kubiak. I think it's named Clint Kubiak. You got Sam Darnold there. And listen, Sam Darnold, I was for sure that he was just simply going to be average, if not as good. I was on the side where he was just not going to be as good. I thought when he came over from Minnesota here, I thought, well, that was just Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota's head coach and magic with Sam Darnold. We know how Darnold played in towards the game against Detroit at the end. Looked like he was choking a little bit. And then, of course, we saw him play against this Rams defense last year at Minnesota, and he just could not keep the pass rush off, was not making quick enough decisions. But you know what? He fought through that oblique injury, and he's had a great season this year. He's had a great season, and I was looking at some of the screenshots here that I got off the internet, and I want to make sure and give these guys this guy his name is Jeff Sunday, not Saturday, Jeff Sunday. He's off the X app. He put down a little bit about Sam Darnold's journey, which I thought was really good. Starting quarterback at 21 years old with the Jets there, thought he was going to be a bust. But judging by the way the Jets handled this situation, the way he played there, he was awful at times. Under Adam Gase, of course, we know that was a disaster. The coach there, he got mono. I remember he when he got mono, he was out for a while. We didn't know this guy got some kind of disease. Was it an STD and it was covered up? Was it something more serious? So you just don't know. That disaster in New York, of course, he criticized for seeing ghosts, which means he's getting rid of the ball quicker than he should because he's afraid of the pass rush. Goes to Carolina under Matt Rule. That doesn't work out. Gets benched. Then he goes to San Francisco, gets his swagger back a little bit as a backup. Minnesota picks him up the next year, and we saw what he did in Minnesota. But they saw what he played, the way he played in those playoff games, and they had McCarthy, J.J. McCarthy, under a rookie contract, so they didn't want to essentially pay him a lot of money, and seeing that he kind of probably topped out, and O'Connell's – this is what I thought too. O'Connell's magic had worn off, and he's just going to be a mediocre guy that you're paying $35 to $50 million to as a starting quarterback. So you see all that. He goes to Seattle, and now the guy's in the Super Bowl. And, you think about that 2018 draft there. Now, a lot of those guys I thought were going to be bust other than Josh Allen, and I questioned every single one of them, including Josh Allen, although I liked him the most. I was buying into Josh Allen hype by Mel Kiper at the time, even though he was coming. He had a pretty low completion percentage, like 50-something%, coming out of Wyoming. We knew he had the rocket arm. He was fun to watch out of Wyoming, but very raw. And he come from Wyoming. He wasn't coming from a big school. We didn't know, and he didn't have great games against the big competition there at Wyoming. But you look at guys like him, Baker Mayfield, although had some success initially, looked like he was going to end up being a bust after he had moved down in the league before he found a new home in Tampa. But mind you, Mayfield got 2 different teams to the playoffs. That's pretty impressive by Mayfield. So he turns out not to be a bust. And then you look at a guy like a Lamar Jackson, you think to yourself, well, Lamar Jackson, this is a runaround guy. He was sought out to really possibly be a receiver, a gadget quarterback, a fill-in guy, and he turns out to get 2 MVPs. Josh Allen, multiple playoff wins, gets an MVP himself. Then you look at Darnold now in the Super Bowl. And, of course, so you look at all 4 of those quarterbacks there. All 4 of those quarterbacks have won playoff games. You've got 2 MVPs there. You've got 2 guys that's won multiple playoff games. And now you've got a quarterback from that 2018 draft that's in the Super Bowl, And, of course, if you want to go, the only bust there was Josh Rosen. He was drafted ahead of Lamar Jackson, per se. So it was pretty interesting the way that draft set up, where you thought all potentially be major busts, and then you only had 1 bust and 4 that actually hit. 4 that actually hit in a long time at 28 years old. Sam Darnold's been through a lot. I thought it was a great story. And it tells you that you can build a team in different ways. You don't necessarily, if you just cannot get high enough in the draft to get that air quote franchise quarterback, just build your team the best you possibly can. Look what Seattle did. Detroit a few years ago, they were very close to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff there. Very close, but they built the team up around him. Of course, they milked that Matt Stafford trade, and of course, Seattle has milked that Russell Wilson trade up enough to get them. Now they're in the Super Bowl, and they're favored. Last I checked, it was about 4.5 point spread over New England. So, to other fans out there, that's something that you can lean on. You can lean on and say, your Titans fans out there, your Cleveland Browns fans, teams that you're going through rebuild, particularly Cleveland Browns. So I'm not sure if Shedeur Sanders is the guy, but look at all these picks. If you can hit on some of them and really build up your team that way and just be a quarterback away, you can go this route. Although it's not the norm route, it's not statistically the route that teams go, but it is a route to get there. It's been, air quote, proven to get there going through this route. But we'll see. We'll break down the game farther as we go along here. Jordan Schultz here, NFL reporter, says, John Snyder, speaking of is the first general manager in history to take multiple teams to the Super Bowl with the same organization while having a head coach and no players from the previous Super Bowl. So that's pretty interesting take as well. That's a pretty interesting fun fact there as well. So interesting stuff there. Going on to the other game here, I thought, of course, I did pick New England to win this game. I didn't think that they would play as bad as they did. Let me get some water. I get all amped up when I start talking here and run out of gas here. Let me get a breath and get some water here, okay? So, all right, now, did not expect Drake May to be running for his life the way he did. Can you make the case that maybe Campbell, I think his name is Luke Campbell, the left tackle there for New England, that was a game where he really should have had the longer arms. That was a big thing in the draft. This guy's arms are too short. Will Campbell, I think is his name. Left tackle out of LSU, their first round pick last year. He's had a pretty good year so far, but he was really having trouble. I think it was Benito, the edge rusher there for Denver, really just got after Drake May. And I thought, if May doesn't get knocked out of this game, then I know that Josh McDaniels and May, who's had chemistry all year, the offensive coordinator there in New England, they're going to fix this. They're going to find a way around. But right now, they're getting the first few possessions. These guys are getting killed on the edges here. And, of course, we saw May just say, wait a minute, they're beating us on the edges, but they're leaving the middle open. I'm just going to run. And, of course, they do some in routes there, use the middle of the field a little bit. The running game, I think he had over 60-something yards rushing. Of course, he ran for a touchdown there. Drake May did. We always know he's a pretty good athlete coming out of North Carolina. But I thought that they would make that adjustment. And, of course, the flip side, the defense gets them. You look at Jarrett Stidham. It was a big mistake. Why are you hanging on to the ball that long? You look at it 2 or 3 times. It was a backwards pass. The play was blown dead. It gets New England back in the game after Stidham got off to a pretty decent start, considering he haven't had any meaningful snaps in, they said, 2 years. I didn't know it was that long. But listen, nobody expected all that snow to come in, but it did. It turned out to be a much more sloppier game than a lot of us anticipated it to be. Denver, my dad used to live there, been there. They have very unpredictable weather. I get it. But, it's easy for us to sit here and play Monday morning quarterback on the way Sean Payton handled that game, whether he should have kicked the field goal in the first half or not. At that time, I'll probably be honest, I've been very critical of Sean Payton. I probably would have went for it too. You're 4th and 1. You want to go up 14. You want to get that. You want to get that commanding league, and you want to show the team that if we do miss this, we got the defense to handle it and keep them back, and not let this really come back and bite us. And of course, listen, ultimately they lost 10-7, and if you do kick that field goal, it's easy to go back and say that. They didn't see this crazy snowstorm. If they were calling for it, I think maybe that decision would have been a little bit different. Go up 10, but either way, I just thought that this was Denver's caught their share of, not Denver. The Pats overall, I thought that they have done a good job. Robert Kraft moving off of Gerard Mayo when he did. Seeing this guy's not. Of course, I would have fired him right after he started that victimhood crap with black coaches and all that. You don't say that at the introductory press conference, And that's all. That's not really what I wanted to talk about here. But I'm just saying I would have let him go after that, because I said this guy's already looking for an excuse for why he's not successful. He was a promissory type of hire. To keep him on like a coach in waiting type of situation, so Belichick can keep him on as a coordinator, because he's a very good assistant coach there, a good linebacker coach, and I think he had like 1 year as a coordinator. But after the season goes on, you could see the development of Drake May not really looking like it was stuck in the mud type of development. And kudos to Kraft. Moving off Mayo, seeing that the fact that you have a Vrabel available, that you have a McDaniels sitting out there, you pair them to McDaniels, not really being seen as a head coach after 2 disastrous outings as a head coach there. The league will probably not see him as a head coach, so you could probably keep him for a while and pair him with a strong leader, good coach here, a big game coach like a Mike Vrabel. This could be really, really successful. It's kudos to Robert Kraft seeing that and putting that together after this team struggled for the few years post Brady here, and have had a pretty high draft, but not really that many high drafts. Remember, they were pretty good year one with Mac Jones and Josh McDaniels before McDaniels got the Raiders job. So thought it was a good season. They took advantage of teams like Buffalo, taking them lightly. Remember, if they beat Buffalo in Buffalo early in the season when they're still trying to figure it out themselves. Remember, folks, they lost opening week to the Raiders. They lost to the Raiders opening week. So, but they get it together. They go on a streak there. They've had a fairly easy schedule. So a lot of people were still picking them to lose even this game to Denver. And I didn't pick them. I thought they could have beat Bo Nix, if he was playing specifically, because I know how well the defense was playing down the stretch here. But you got to look at the fact that Drake May and with the pretty shaky line there at times, we saw it Sunday. Beat some of the league's best defenses. And Robert Griffin, of all people, pointed this out, and I wanted to give him credit. I want to say this was on the Facebook page. This is Robert Griffin's verified account. He said Drake May's paced one of the toughest passes in Super Bowl history. No quarterback he said no quarterback ever beat three top 5 defenses to get to the Super Bowl. The Chargers are number 5. I forgot that was a low-scoring game. The Texans were the number 1 defense, points allowed, yards allowed. The Texans were that team. And, of course, the number 2 defense were the Broncos. So he's not going to be overwhelmed by this Seattle defense. A lot of people's already saying that. We know Seattle's probably got a better roster overall. I mean, that leaves without saying. But to say that he's going to be overwhelmed at the Super Bowl, that's just not going to be true. Man, maybe he's overwhelmed by the moment and everything. But football-wise, but going through those teams, he's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. I think they'll be able to keep him in the game. Of course, I'll study up. We got 2 weeks to break that down. But that was a good outing there. That was a good outing there by by Drake May. And Ari Morov from the X-Out, this guy. I think he works for the 33rd team now. He mentioned the fact that, they signed Milton Williams in the offseason, the Patriots here. Won a Super Bowl last year with the Eagles. Then he signed a 4-year, $100 million deal with the Patriots. Now he's back in the Super Bowl. So good pickup, good move for him. And, of course, good pickup for the Patriots there, taking advantage of their of their free agency money and spending it wisely, bringing in guys like him, Carlton Davis there, a lot really good. Even Diggs, of course, I wouldn't have signed Diggs, but he has been big in some spots there. Not a lot of really bigs. What Stephon Diggs way past his prime. Also goes to show you really don't need big name wide receivers to get to the Super Bowl. You just simply don't. You just need guys to contribute, put your money into your lines and your quarterback, and obviously ownership, spend it on scouts, a general manager, and ultimately a head coach. We saw that all come to fruition on Sunday. Okay. Mike McCarthy. Boy, I'm just a motor mouth today. I'm really getting thirsty here. I think because I got this heat up on so high, it's like I said, it's single digits here in the Nashville area. So Pittsburgh hires what a dream job. Mike McCarthy's really got to be on cloud 9. He is a Pittsburgh native. coaching the hometown team, the legendary Pittsburgh Steelers. As I said before, nobody agrees with me on national media, not that I've heard of. But this Steelers job, I know people talk about the Ravens job and everything, the Bills and everything, because they've got quarterbacks in place. But from the top down, this Steeler job is the best job in sports, in the NFL, because of the level of patience from the ownership side. Will not fire anybody. Now, my video clip there went viral of Ralph Williams talking about Mike Tomlin being pushed out. And Ralph explains, listen, basically the ownership said, but think about it, this guy been there 19 years. Longest tenure coach there in the NFL at the time. When you got guys getting fired every 3 and 4 years, sometimes just 1 year, one and done. You got 7 to 10 guys. Practically a third of the league turns over every single year from these billionaire owners. And they've had this will be their fourth, McCarthy's their fourth coach since 1969. That is patience. And all other 3 coaches won Super Bowls. Look at it that way. All other 3 coaches won Super Bowls. So my thing is they're going to foresee any type of downshift there that you may have to, and they're going to have to go through a downshift to get to where they want to go. Like I said before, but Ralph Williams talking about that, and Ralph also brought up the fact, and you guys can go back in my page and watch that whole interview that I've replayed a couple. I've already replayed it once, but you go back and watch it. That maybe they should, and hopefully they will, add an assistant in waiting, because it might not work out in other places like a Gerard Mayo with the New England, but with the Patriots there, they're going to go full board and trying to help you get the right scouts in there, the right draft set up there, the free agents. They're going to back you on that. They're not going to fire you when things go south, when you try something. They're going to be uber patient here, much more patient than any other organization I've ever seen, especially with some of the down years that Mike Tomlin has had, per se. And even Bill Cowher had some down years there as well, although he didn't make it to 2 Super Bowls. So did Mike Tomlin. They both won one, lost one, But, McCarthy there, being from an offensive background, he's in his 60s. He knows that they're not going to keep Aaron Rodgers if they even have him for this year. Rodgers hadn't made his mind up. Maybe they can work it out. Maybe they don't. Either way, he knows they're going to have to get another quarterback. They're going to have to shed some of these defensive guys' rosters, salaries, your J.J. Watt, even your I forgot the Cameron Hayward. And I love Cameron Hayward. He's a big sport. But, the guy's 35 years old. He's played well. But guys like that, your interior guys, your older defensive backs there, you have to shed a lot of that off there with Aaron Rodgers. You go out and get a quarterback probably in 27. I hope they don't try to get one this year. Then maybe they should try to get Ty Simpson here. If the Jets don't snag him first, somebody like that, and groom him, but also have a young, particular offensive-minded head coach in waiting, because they're so patient. They'll do everything they can to make it where, you're not going to gutter out, because, I use the bowling with little kids analogy, where the bowling alley turns the bumper guards up where the ball bounces back and forth, but it doesn't go into the gutter, and you're going to knock down some pins. That's a situation here in Pittsburgh. So very good hire there, even if it is for 4 or 5 years. And then the foundation is set for the next coach to take over. That doesn't mean that you can't potentially be in the playoff hunt or perhaps even win a Super Bowl with McCarthy. I still say you can. Remember, Mike McCarthy took the Dallas Cowboys, and people forget this about. I know he's made some managerial I know he's had his issues managing games and everything. But listen, Dallas Cowboys, first road playoff win in 30 years. 30 years, 2022, 92, that's unbelievable. But he was the coach of that team, okay? All those division titles, that Super Bowl win in Green Bay, that means something, folks. He's from the offensive background. That means, look how bad Dallas has been this year, and he supposedly walked away from Dallas. They didn't want to offer him what he wanted. And it's hard to win when you got a meddling owner like a Jerry Jones that meddles. It has to be about him and the headline rather than being about winning games, okay? This is a very good home run hire, if you ask me, especially if they set up something where he can have somebody in waiting and that transition be applied in the next 5 years or so. But even if not, 62, 63 is not the same. He might be able to coach 10 years and they get the Super Bowl and they start over, and that's not a big deal. We talked about that with the Bill Walsh rule. Bill Walsh's philosophy, former 49er coach, stay there 10 years because after 10 years, things start to get a little stale there. You start to get tuned out. 10 years is a round number, but that each coach should evaluate themselves and where they're at after 10 years. I mean, you've got Andy Reid now at Kansas City, but you look at guys like he's the longest tenured coach there. Now, John Harbaugh, 18 years, Mike Tomlin, 19, not to mention guys like Pete Carroll. Even Sean Payton took a year off, re-energized, came back. I think he was almost in the Super Bowl with the backup quarterback. With all those cap issues, as he was re-energized after that year off, been there well over 10 years with the Saints there. You talk about Pete Carroll with Seattle. Like I said, Belichick, even Andy Reid with the Eagles. He just simply needed to change. So keeping the guy 8 to 10 years, it's not really, hey man, we missed out. Man, we're just changing now. This is a highly, highly stressful job here. I know it's, generally speaking, football is entertainment, but it's still a business. It's still a business at the end of the day. So very good hire there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, folks. If you like the show, share the show. I'm going to try possibly to get another interview in today, and I'll air it on Tuesday. So this one will be on Monday night. This one will be on Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. That wraps it up for now. Folks, have a good day. And, of course, if you're in the Nashville area and you're driving, please be careful out there and let the road people get these roads squared away. Sunny as it's been, I know it's going to be below freezing all week, but maybe we can get back on and get going sooner than later. So have a good night, everybody. I'll see you probably live Wednesday here on the Real Sports Scope.